I didn't watch Raw this week because I knew I would just forget about it anyway. Did you watch any of it? And if so, could we do this quick?
Yes, we can, because this was, I'll tell you, boy, it was not pea-picking good. There was a lot of things going on, but nothing you really wanted to see, and it took forever to get to the point if you did. You want to see Cody. He was first out. He goes the ring. He's over. And they showed the VTR last week. They're telling a great story here that Cody helped Jey Uso out when Drew McIntyre wouldn't, because Drew's starting to turn heel, walk off on people. Because what about me? What about Drew? That type of thing. This is all interconnecting. And they were in Ontario, California, and they were sold out. I thought things were void in Ontario.
For one of our sponsors, not for wrestling. What was he? What were you even talking about?
What are you listening to?
I'm listening. You said
Bueller.
I didn't expect you to go to the DraftKings copy.
I said they were in Ontario, California, and they were sold out.
Oh, that's right.
But things were void in Ontario.
Void in Ontario. Well, it doesn't specify which Ontario. It could be any Ontario.
And see, Ontario, California, CA, and Ontario, Canada, CA. You never know about these things. But nevertheless, they're telling a good story with the whole thing. Cody brought Jey to to Raw. And Jay's trying to make amends to all the people he's wronged, but nobody trusts him. This is kind of sort of like when Ole turned and became a babyface, and still Dusty wouldn't trust him. Whatever the case. And so Cody came out and cut the promo that people don't like him. They think that maybe I should have let him sink, but I helped him because he turned down the Judgment Day. And that shows me what kind of guy he is. And then here comes the Judgment Day music, but no Rhea. Just Priest and Dom and Finn. And they are really, now they're just not even pretending to turn Dominic's microphone on when he's trying to talk. It's like you're hearing the ambient, maybe, of him on the PA in the building, and they're cranking the crowd way up because the crowd loves to boo over him. So, but it's going to get annoying when they actually have to fucking impart some kind of information. But then the heels menace Cody, and Jey shows up. But they're still outnumbered, so the heels continue to menace because JD Funko brings them chairs. But Priest says, wait a minute, we shouldn't do this. Oh, that's when Owens and Zayn showed up. And then Priest says, don't do this, but the rest of the heels rolled in and got the shit kicked out of them. So then Priest said, oh, what the fuck? He has to roll in, and he gets the shit kicked out of him by all four of them. And that took 15 minutes just to get that done. And we saw Otis versus Bronson Reed. We saw Tommaso Ciampa against Kaiser Wilhelm. I'm sure the match was wonderful, I'm sure, but you'll never guess. Kaiser Wilhelm got beat again. Tegan Nox wrestled Natalya. We were almost an hour into the show at this point. Then Seth came out for an in-ring interview, which consisted, actually, he did an entrance. Then they went to the break. Then they came back to the ring, and the fans sang for quite a while. And then he cut the promo to allow them to sing some more. And then Shaky Nakamura showed up on the screen because that is going to continue with the last man standing match, the same rules as AEW's Texas Death Match. And Nakamura did his promo in Japanese with the subtitles and the weird constipation faces. And then he was done. And then Seth reacted to it. It took forever because he was being dramatic. And then they finished with more singing. And it was 15 minutes from the time his entrance started until the end of his interview after Shaky's interview, interrupting his interview. It's like you're in the goddamn Twilight Zone where nothing will fucking happen.
Yeah, sounds like a great episode.
Where did we see Dragon Lee?
Dragon Lee, he's good. I've seen him do some. No, I've seen him have some good matches, and he's good. However, the last time we saw him was teaming up. Was it with Roosh and someone else, and they unmasked him right when they went off the air?
Okay, he was the guy they pulled his mask off for no reason, and then he went to the WWF the next week.
And then he signed with WWE. AEW had been trying to sign him, apparently, and he decided to go to WWE, and now here he is, Dragon Lee.
Well, he's dragging ass. The NXT North American title, and this is what they're doing smart. Dominic is the North American champion on NXT while he's on Raw and in the middle of the Judgment Day. And they've had Becky Lynch has gone to NXT. They've had more crossover of the mainstream, main roster talent going in that direction and some more attention. And NXT is now over 800,000 viewers on most weeks here lately and got up to, a quarter of about 1 million or so here not long ago. So now, as I think we mentioned this on last week's show, they've started doing what I don't know why they just started doing earlier, and that's really integrating, people who need to be crossed over in this thing. However, Dominic defended his North American title against Dragon Lee, who was announced at 165 pounds. He's a stocky little fella, but the girl ring announcer is taller than he is, even in barefoot without her heels on. And I want to see how Dominic's work is progressing, but this was not the showcase for that because the gymnastics started after Dominic threw 2 nice punches. So he won. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm going to wait till he has a wrestling match with somebody that can work to tell me if he can work or not, because the cheerleading routines he's well versed in.
So you're not even going to give Dragon Lee a chance?
Oh, good God. He's interchangeable with every other. There's a reason why Mil Mascaras made a fucking fortune in the United States. Not only because he was doing he had looked like a movie star, which he was, and had the great body and was doing the flying crossbody off the top rope, but it's because there weren't 18 other people on television wearing the same kind of mask with the same kind of body and the same kind of build doing the same kind of shit.
You brought up NXT. Did you see that they had, I thought you may have seen this because I saw it on Twitter. They did a vignette video for Brian Pillman Jr.
I saw it on Twitter because obviously, we haven't watched NXT in a while, and I actually looked at last week's recap to see if I was missing anything, and I can't pronounce the names of the talent on the roster. And I can't imagine why anybody named them that. And it turns me off from what the fuck. But we might have to, if old Brian Jr. is around, we might have to check that out. But it was a brief tease from what I understand.
Hey, let's see if they keep pumping this show up until they sell the rights to it.
By the way, did you see the Nia Jax live interview with Michael Cole?
Nia Jax, and no, I certainly, of all the things I didn't watch on this show, I didn't watch this the most.
They actually had her come to the ring and do a live interview with Michael Cole, who I assume they put him in there because when's the last time you ever saw Nia Jax do a fucking live interview?
I don't remember.
Right?
I don't know.
There's good reason for that. Her story is she's the most dangerous woman or dangerous human or dangerous person or whatever in the WWE. And she listed all the people that she had crushed and squashed for a shoot, apparently. And it was reciting a memorized, dissertation it was like Sable's talent and voice was transplanted into a refrigerator wrapped in pleather. The same
Jesus
monotone, the same kind of a husky voice, but monotonic with no inflection and no oomph except for a manufactured oomph at And then Zoe Stark came out and got up in her face and dared her to do something about it, so she did. They had a pull apart with two referees pulling them apart, and neither one of them took a bump. The referees were in between, and it was a male and female referee. Two of them were holding Nia Jax and Zoe Stark back from each other.
It's interesting. Remember, Nia Jax had issues publicly. She aired them out, I believe, with Ronda Rousey, right?
I think so.
Who called herself what would they call her? The world's most dangerous woman, or the most dangerous woman in the world? I don't remember exactly what her nickname was, because, she was just there a few months ago. I have no memory what her nickname was, but it's interesting now they're kind of taking that and giving it to Nia Jax, who actually apparently had a problem with her.
Well, thing is, Ronda Rousey wasn't really dangerous. She was she was the baddest woman on the planet. That's what it was.
That's what it was. She was bad.
But Nia Jax is really the most dangerous person in the WWE to the talent. And then they had a match, by the way, Nia and Zoe. But
how was it?
Well, I zipped ahead to the finish just to see if Zoe walked out under her own power. The bonsai was a working bonsai drop. Feet flat on the mat, held the top rope, and then once that the bounce had happened, then put weight on her. So somebody must have spoken to her in some fashion.
What next time she wrestles, watch her match, just because you talk so much about her. Let's actually evaluate her in-ring work. Maybe she's really worked hard.
I think I saw enough to possibly shoot that scenario down, but
any coincidence to the fact that Rock shows up right around the same time that she shows up again?
Yeah. I don't know, would he go that far for one particular family member? Or is it just that they thought they got an idea?
See, that's the thing. Would The Rock help someone if there wasn't a camera there to film him doing it?
Well, you say tomato and I say tomato.
Tomato Ciampa.
That's Tommaso to you. I just can't remember whether it's 2 M's and 1 S or 2 S's and 1 M or whatever it is. We never could spell his fucking name.
That's right. What throws you off. I got used to it finally. It's 2 M's.
But only 1 S.
Are there any more S's on this show?
I'd like to buy a vowel. So anyway, they had Miz TV. We were 2 hours into the show by this point. Miz TV with Drew McIntyre, and Miz asked the question, basically, why did Drew leave Jimmy to be beaten up by the Judgment Day? And then he talked for 5 minutes until Drew said, karma's a bitch. And then the New Day music played, and out came the New Day with a trombone, and I said, I'm done. They had a match, Drew and Kofi, but one of the Vikings came down and jumped on Woods and beat him up, and Kofi got distracted, and McIntyre beat him with a kick. And then the Viking got in and beat up Kofi too, and Drew walked off and let it happen. No good son of a bitch. And then we were ready for the main event. That was 2.5 hours, what I've just described, all that fucking...
Okay, well, listen, there are a couple of things there that were intriguing. I would have liked to have seen Dragon Lee versus Dominic, and I would have liked to have seen Nia Jax's promo and match, just for the perverse joy of whatever it could be.
Yeah.
Was the main event my biggest fear, one of the biggest reasons I don't watch Raw, which is it always feels like the same people having the same match every week for the main event?
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against Damian Priest and Finn Balor.
Well, at least it wasn't a trios match.
And I'm sure the match was wonderful, but I was running low on time. But basically, Dominic interfered, and Priest hit Sammy with a big move and got a 2 count. And then Uso jumped up and grabbed Dominic and jumped on him. And here came JD Funko out, and he got on Jay, and then Cody saved Jay. And actually, Cody ran through the ring and dove out the other side and hit fucking old JD Funko and knocked him backwards over the desk, and he almost wiped out Michael Cole. I mean, it was like he was a fucking crotch hair away. And then they had a big schmoz on the floor, and JD hit Sammy with the title belt, and Priest pinned him. And then actually the last couple minutes, the faces came back out, and had a big fucking brawl all around ringside. And you almost got a flash of an old Mid-South wrestling episode if you were drunk enough, but that was probably the best part of the show. That was that.
All right, that was Raw, a quick Raw review.